Stop saying Pluto is not going to affect us. Pluto is not going to affect everyone. Yes, it is. How do I know that? Pluto has an effect somewhere on your natal chart. Transiting Pluto July 3rd, the eve of July 4th, the night my Buick exploded, was conjunct my natal Neptune in opposition of my rising and my Chiron, and square to my natal Pluto, conjunct transiting Jupiter. It does matter. Some of these conjunctions and transits to your natal chart are going to change your life forever, as it did mine. Now I'm fighting for freedom in General Motors' backyard in my hometown of Detroit, where my forefathers built that company, for the Buick exploding, burning my children alive in front of me. It matters. It's like these young astrologers learn their astrology on Instagram. They don't read any of the books of Rudolf Steiner, Manly P. Hall, Ernest Holmes, whatever. The truth will set you free with Pluto. All the secrets are going to come out. What has happened over the last few years against humanity is one of our predictions. Studying astrology isn't about predicting the future. It's as if maybe we can predict by knowing some patterns and that history repeats itself. Aquarius is the vessel, spirit, vessel on dry land or lost at sea, Admiralty Maritime Law. The vessel or spirit that's used for others. Pluto in Aquarius will transform radically and violently, seek to eradicate profound errors of understanding through violent upheavals. But as a group, maybe pulling us together as a group, sharing common causes, social service, political activism. Don't expect to get any recognition with Pluto in Aquarius. Don't seek recognition for your power and your hard work and your transformation. The story of Hercules, for example, the cattle dung filled the King Argon's stables and fields, which poisoned and starved the people. And the king had promised the hero half of his cattle if he could help the starving people. Hercules completed the task by diverting 2 rivers through the stables, but the king accused Hercules of trickery and to behead him if he ever returned. The lesson of Aquarius is to give without expectations of receiving in return. It's selfless. It's not personal. It's for the greater good. And it might not be personal to the universe, but it's sure personal to me. Pluto does matter. So those were just conjunctions. The challenging aspects, Sun and Pluto, threaten. Those are the challenging aspects. And conjunctions aren't easy either. The Sun and Pluto, unusual, unnerving, explosive, courageous, having to overcome. Moon, Pluto, prone to experiencing or creating trauma with the conjunction of the Moon and Pluto. Mercury and Pluto, shattering ideas that may not easily be expressed, having to overcome other people's opinions of ourselves. Venus and Pluto, overwhelmed by love or lovers. Which is interesting, Mercury and Pluto too, is probably has a lot to do with our means of making money and our merchandise, our daily routines maybe. Mars and Pluto, dangerous actions. Jupiter and Pluto conjunctions, expansive transformations of consciousness, radical changes in beliefs maybe, or maybe the virtue of where you want to go. Jupiter being that insightful, far-reaching, what's next out there to learn, to grow. Saturn and Pluto, harsh, cold, difficult circumstances. Uranus and Pluto, society in disarray and radical changes. Neptune and Pluto, fundamental change in nature itself, which was what happened to me. Neptune and Pluto conjunction, completely the nature and fire of all things, just otherworldly like, where my children are now in heaven with hard Uranus aspects too, the day of my accident. Pluto representing freedom. I blew up on the 4th of July. Pluto matters. The aspects to Pluto matter. Easy flowing aspects to Pluto. The Sun and Pluto can break through barriers and achieve the impossible. Moon and Pluto handling danger with confidence. If you have any kind of trine or sextiles to Pluto, with Mercury and Pluto may turn our ideas about reality upside down. Maybe something hits you and it's not quite an epiphany as much as it is trauma. Venus and Pluto, feeling good about a relationship or possibility. Maybe. Pluto can also have an overpowering effect on Venus. Depends on who's more powerful in your chart. If that means getting rid of relationships altogether, transforming them. Maybe it's doing things that we've never done before. Maybe Pluto has a little bit of that taboo-ness to it when it comes to relationships. And Scorpio ruled. That kind of rules the Scorpio that rules the lower bowels and our sacral chakra and that sexual energy. Mars and Pluto fearlessly faces up to what needs to be done. So having, again, go head on to your circumstances, overcoming fear. Jupiter and Pluto, beyond fear, nothing will stop us. Saturn and Pluto, succeeding or seeming to succeed when all is against us. So we may not feel as if we're succeeding, having to overcome our circumstances. Uranus and Pluto, radical social change, readily accepted. Neptune and Pluto, reassessment of beliefs. So depending on where Aquarius is in your chart, where transiting Pluto is going to have an effect on your makeup. This is a biochemical makeup. This is a subjective and objective involution and evolution, the cause and effect of all things. What you have up here, the thoughts and feelings, the accumulation of your spirit thus far, and how it's going to manifest physically in this physical world, especially as our consciousness is evolving. More of us are having to go through even more traumatic times. Pluto in Aquarius says a lot about AI, says a lot about electric vehicles and the consequences of this very radical, swift-moving advances in technology. Stock market even. Pluto also rules inheritances and big money. So Pluto entering Aquarius March 23rd until May 1st, where it'll travel back to Capricorn 27 degrees until 2024 and then move its way back to Aquarius. This still matters at the latest degrees of Capricorn, especially switching signs. I don't use a whole sign system, but it's significant that we're changing into different modalities and polarities. Capricorn being an earth feminine sign, Aquarius being a very masculine air sign, we're moving into a different energy, and it will be radically different. Aquarius in your first house, Pluto moving into the first house, conjunct your sun, indomitable, regenerative, undermining, sometimes threatening. Sun conjunct Pluto is unusual, unnerving, explosive, courageous. If you're a rising, so you may have more of that, those themes, something unnerving you, something that's challenging you. It's brought up to the forefront in your face, in your physical experience that you have to deal with. But more than environment, your personality, your first impression on people. Maybe you feel the need to express yourself, depending on what other planets are in this chart working with you in your first house. Pisces in the 12th house may master or live with inner demons or be broken by them. 12th house representing the mysterious, what's hidden in our minds, what we don't share with people, or what's the most difficult to share with people, past trauma. I have a 12th house in Cancer representing mother and children. So when Pluto moves back into Capricorn, that'll be Aquarius's 12th house and undergoing massive changes. Could even be about addictions or even codependencies or bad habits that we're breaking. Our vulnerability, being able to be vulnerable and speaking up. Aries, Aquarius would be your 11th house, powerful, intimidating, urge to influence others. Maybe be careful on our tone and how we're speaking to each other. Then it will move back into Capricorn, into your 10th house, which is all about your career. It'll have unusual, difficult to understand, exciting to follow type energy with Pluto in the 10th house. For Taurus, that's where it will be when Pluto is in Aquarius. Until we move back into Capricorn, it will then be in the 9th house, drawn to unusual and dangerous places and possibilities. So Gemini, that's going to be your focus when Pluto moves into Aquarius in your 9th house, which is supportive in the 9th house to be drawn to unusual, dangerous places and possibilities. The 9th house representing higher spiritual learning, other cultures, other lands, other religions. Cancer, this will be in your 8th house, may become more focused by living with insecurities. What are those insecurities and how do you deal with them? The 8th house does represent also maybe our passions, maybe something that keeps us from being passionate. Maybe we're a little more timid, or maybe we have given away ourselves too much and we need to be more secure and to ourselves. Maybe there's deaths or traumas that we're dealing with, maybe even sexual traumas that we deal with may come into light now. Leo's relationships tend to be roller coasters of uncertainty when Pluto moves into our 7th house, knowing we are going to go through a transition of relationships, an empowerment of relationships. Let that empower you, that you're learning from these relationships. Only take what you need. Let it inspire you to move forward. Then Capricorn is Leo's 6th house when it moves into the 6th house. Virgo's 6th house is Aquarius, which is bravely facing unnerving challenges in work and health. Getting our daily routines down are going to be important to us Virgos at that time. Nurturing our pets' health, our work environment, making sure that's a nice place, having to get along with people, doing what I call the adult negotiations, coming to the forefront. Don't take it personally. Whatever's going on at work, don't take it personally. Libra, in your 5th house, Pluto in Aquarius, is obsessive, often overwhelming, creative urge. That obsessiveness may come in the form of anxiety, having all this creative urge and needing to act on that creativity. When you don't, you're going to create resentment instead. Scorpio, Pluto moving into Aquarius of your 4th house, then the mastery comes from living with uncertain undercurrents, changes, especially in the 4th house. Living with, that term there is because the 4th house represents our foundation and our home, what keeps us secure, those 4 walls that we secure other people with, how we keep that, how comfortable that is. Something might change within the home. Like me, I have Scorpio in the 4th house, my Pluto there. I lost my children to a crazy accident with transits going on. For any of us born with Pluto and Scorpio, that will be square to Pluto in your 4th house. Difficult, possibly empowering. Brace yourself. Sagittarius, Pluto moving in Aquarius to your 3rd house poses deep questions that may upset convention. The 3rd house is very inquisitive, ruled by Gemini. You always know a Gemini because they love to ask questions, especially if you have any brothers and sisters, what it was like growing up. The deeper questions, Pluto is all about revealing secrets. Scorpio and Pluto, they say their eyes are fixed, their fixed emotions are set on the truth. So they want to know the truth and they dig it out. Capricorn, with Pluto going into your 2nd house, masters insecurity to gain lasting riches. So you may have aspects or even planets that are aspecting your house to Pluto. That's what we call Vedic astrology. And when we get to use Sanskrit terms is when we really start to empower even the objective forms of the subjective terms, using these terms, even though they're intangible, we can bring more power to them in objective form, is what we say Sanskrit is, that it is a divine language. And this kind of divine language has power with its frequency and vibration. So we might have our sun aspecting 7 houses from Pluto, or our rising sign aspecting 4 houses from Pluto. And that will make a difference. So everybody is unique, and it is going to affect us. All these young astrologers, stop saying Pluto doesn't matter. It will matter, especially to those on the path, especially for those of us who've had our Saturn returns. There's going to be big questions. There's going to be big challenges that require real, mature solutions. And everyone needs to be in on the conversation with Pluto and Aquarius. The AI, they released a Facebook AI bot that went crazy a few years back. I didn't realize, I'm not the social media person on Facebook, but that it had generated so many malevolent responses that it could say, I'll come back and murder your family, and I know where you live. And it started to respond so crazy, they had to shut it down because of what people were putting into this AI and how it was able to respond back. This chat, EPT.com, I've seen some videos on that and how it responds. And I'll post some response on maybe at the end of this, and how that's scary. The cobalt mines and the electric vehicles. So, in conclusion, please tell your friends and your favorite astrologers, Pluto does matter. And you better take him seriously, or he's going to show you he matters. And don't worry, it's going to be okay. Tell your friends, Pluto just entered Aquarius and doing a lot of things right now. And for the love of the gods, stop using a whole sign system. You're diminishing the value of the degree. Use an equal house system. You will be more accurate. MadWoman out. Maybe some of us will get lucky in the stock market if we have some good aspects to Pluto. Pluto and Aquarius representing the economic changes in the stock market. When we think Bitcoin or intangible currencies or digital currency, that's ruled by Pluto and Aquarius. Ruled by Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius is going to exaggerate that even more. Developed electronic communication that revolutionized global markets. Sexual attitudes transforms fundamentally and self-indulgently. That's a Scorpio Pluto. And that's for us babies in 83 to 95, 1983 to 1995, with people that have Pluto and Scorpio. Just interesting. We're studying. Just saying.